My name is Misty Eyez, and my pronouns are she and hers. Well, my heritage is Norwegian. I trace back my bloodline all the way to Norway, and I was born and raised in Anchorage, Alaska. My father is a charismatic evangelical minister. I am the oldest of 7 children. I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers. So, as an adult, I hate cold and I hate snow, but my fondest childhood memory is actually building snow tunnels and our own imaginary igloos. Because when the snowplow would go down the street, it would push huge mounds of snow into our yard. And I loved going into the yard and making tunnels and slides and our little forts. But our parents would freak out because if there was a car accident and a car skidded off the road, it would hit the snowbank and we would be in the snowbank. So we weren't allowed to do it very often, but maybe that's why I cherish that memory so much, because it was apparently taboo, but it was fun. The name Misty Eyez actually comes from a Christian song named Love in Any Language, and the singer is Sandy Patty. So in my life, I realized I was LGBTQ. I knew I was a girl at 4, but I didn't know that there were other humans in the world like me. I thought I was the only one broken. I was the only one wrong. I was the only one with this brain. But I knew I belonged in the LGBTQ community somewhere. And I started my adult journey as soon as I was 18. I started becoming a male exotic dancer. And many people would call me Mr. Eyez, or that wasn't my dancer name, but people were like, oh, the one with the eyes, the one with the eyes, the one with the eyes. So I knew I wanted Eyez as a last name, but I couldn't think of a first name to go with it. So Eyez was, when I started doing drag, that was my drag name. And I probably did it for like 3 months before I found Misty. And I was singing Love in Any Language in a Christian choir, and we were learning it in sign language. So it was like love in any, I don't remember how to do it correctly, but love in any language, something straight from the heart. But there's but there's a part of the song that says, fathers all get misty-eyed when they give their daughter's hand in marriage. And I'm like, Misty Eyez? It's a girl's name. It's a sentence. It's an action. It's perfect. And it's my name. I knew the second I did Fathers All Get Misty-Eyed that it would be me. And this was probably in 1999, maybe 98. As a keynote speaker, I am an educator, trainer, and motivational speaker. And I do one of my talks on building resilience. And when I'm speaking about resilience, one of the things I tell people is, you are beautiful, you are amazing, you are deserving. And I think a lot of times as LGBTQIA+++, and specifically trans people, and specifically Black trans people, we often feel that we don't deserve, we are unworthy, and the heterosexual cis-normative milestones don't apply to us. I've never felt that way. I think we deserve to live, we deserve to be thriving, and we deserve to have every milestone out there. And one of the things that I constantly empower my clients to do is believe in yourself and go out there and do it. Don't stop fighting and keep going. So milestones, buying a house. Milestones, getting a degree. Milestones, getting married. Milestones like that. So yes, you can have a white picket fence if you want to. You can have a degree if you want to. You can have a career if you want to. You can have a husband if you want to. And you can't let the world stop you from being amazing and beautiful and thriving. So yes, it's funny because when I planned my wedding, it was going to be initially small. It was always going to be in a church, because even as a little girl, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9, I started planning a white wedding. And I knew it was going to be a Christian wedding, and I knew it was going to be in a church, and I knew a lot of things. I knew I was going to be in a, I was going to say evening gown, but I knew I was going to be in a wedding dress. even though I didn't know there was other people out there like me. But these are things that your young girl brain is thinking about. And I knew these were going to happen. So as that time got closer, now when my husband proposed, he proposed after 2 weeks of dating, and I laughed at him and I said, "Get out of my house." He proposed after 2 months of dating, and laughed at him and I said, "Get out of my house." After 6 months, it was Valentine's Day, he actually proposed again, and I still laughed at him because I think I was still in that time where I believed I wasn't worthy. And why would he want me? I had already come to the conclusion that I'm a Capricorn. I'm an overachieving person. I'm transgender. I'm goal driven. It's lonely at the top. I will never find somebody that wants me. And straight men typically date girls like me in secrecy. They come into my house in the middle of night and the cover of darkness and they sneak out. They don't take me to dinner. And when he proposed the third time, I did cry after laughing. And when I realized he was dead serious and he had I call it the Antonio Banderas Puss in Boots eyes, because he literally was on his knees and he had these big puppy dog's eyes and I thought he was going to cry. And that scared me. But then I was like, oh my gosh, he's so serious. And then I ran into the other room and I started bawling and I probably cried for maybe an hour. And my husband came into the room and he's like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, "You really love me. You want to be with me." And it was a, I'm not going to say a life shattering moment, but I wasn't prepared for that reality at first. So I told him I will marry him, but we're having the longest engagement. And that longest engagement lasted 3 years because in my mind, he's rushing into something. I'm not, when you rush into something, you rush out. So I'm like, fine, if you think you want me, great. But I'm going to try to get you to break up with me first. And I constantly tried to get him to break up. I wanted him to see me the ugliest. I wanted him to see me the dirtiest. I wanted him to see me with whatever hair I have growing and whatever places I have growing. I wanted to make sure that he was in it for the long haul. And yes, when I planned my wedding, it was supposed to be small and maybe 5 bridesmaids and 5 groomsmen. And it turned out to be huge, 13 bridesmaids, 13 groomsmen. As a well-known entertainer, people started to get butthurt when they found out that why aren't I standing with you? So when I was planning the wedding, I was very intentional about having the queerest wedding possible. I had trans men on the groom side. I had trans women, trans feminine, cis women, and drag queens in drag on my side. And there was every representation of the trans community and the het norm cis community in the wedding. I wrote my own vows and I wrote the entire wedding. And I took a gay wedding, I took a Christian wedding, and I took another wedding, a standard wedding. And I took different sections. There was a prayer, there was a unity candle, and I was very intentional because you can't tell me I can't have a Christian wedding. I'm a Christian. And Christianity is about loving Jesus, not about being what you think Christians should be. My God is slow to anger. My God is patient. So I live by those examples. You're wrong when you say that you believe certain things. So I had what I would call the perfect wedding because I made it. And so many people in the community came through and it was beautiful and it was amazing. And I was in a white wedding dress and it was beautiful and it was amazing. And one of the things that I've always done is I live out loud, meaning I share the struggles, I share the successes, I talk about the journey because other people are watching and learning and growing with me. Like in the middle of buying a house, right? Well, I bought the house. We've closed already. But in that process, it started in Thanksgiving last year and it took 10 months to close. A nightmare. And discrimination is real. And things that crept up that I wasn't expecting that crept up. And I would talk about them to the people in my life and my clients and my community. And they're like, oh my gosh, like you didn't know that was a thing. Because one day, but also the fact that I went and bought a house, you can do it too. And I do always want to empower those people around me. 3 things I would never leave home without. Actually, I was going to go metaphysical and empowering and say pride and integrity. But what I always tell my husband when he walks outside, keys, phone, wallet. Baby, keys, phone, wallet, because he's always forgetting either his keys or his phone or his wallet. So I always leave with my keys, phone, and wallet. But I would say keys, phone, purse. That I always bring that with me when I go anywhere. But also my respect, my pride, and integrity. I truly feel that my calling is to help other people find their calling. And I feel that my calling is to inspire other people. So the one thing that I truly hope that I leave behind me, if and when I'm ever gone, is that I made a difference in their life. And I lived authentically. And they remember me for making a difference. And I truly believe that we can indeed change the world one person at a time. A heavy feat. And I've also often heard that analogy, you can't scoop out the ocean one cup at a time. Like, what are you wasting your time for? But I'm wasting my time. I think that I change my mind, I change my world. I hope you change your mind, you change your world. And that passes on and empowers other people. I truly do believe with the butterfly effect. So if you say, I can change the world one person at a time. And that's the legacy I want to leave. The biggest challenge that the trans community faces is fear. The current political government in many states right now are spreading a message of fear mongering and breeding fear. I think it's a normal human response to fear things that we don't understand. And I think it's normal that you don't understand things that you've never been exposed to. And if somebody comes along and paints a horrible picture about a community of how disgusting and ratchet and ill-intended that community might be, I think it's normal for you to be afraid. I don't blame people for being afraid. But I think the biggest hurdle that we as a trans community face is having to rise above that fear. And instead of cowering and hiding in our closets and in our homes and refusing to leave, going out in public is more important now than ever. Living authentically is more important now than ever. Educating and empowering is more important now than ever. We are overcoming that fear from the community of people that don't understand us and are afraid of us. And that fear sometimes leads to violence. And that's something that I personally am afraid of. I still do drag sometimes for major events and major things. And one of the major things I still do is drag queen story time. There have been a couple drag queen story times where I was like, oh, Jesus, please protect me today. I am a charismatic evangelical Christian, and I do believe in God, and I am saved. But one of my personal fears is a Christian walking by with a gun trying to defend their God, not realizing their God's also my God. And I think as the LGBTQ community as a whole, specifically trans people, we have to rise above it, and we have to love those people that are afraid of us. And that is truly challenging, because when we are pushed back into a corner and we're beaten down and we don't feel worth value anymore, we still have to love them. And that's hard.